welcome to episode 28 of Breakfast Talk. We are discussing The Matrix Resurrections. Kind of break down the trailer a bit. And yeah, so get plugged in because we're about to dive right into that.
Wakey, wakey, smell those eggs and bakey. It's time for Breakfast Talk, a podcast discussing current, independent, and mainstream entertainment topics from gaming and movies to comics. Start your week off right with the Breakfast Boys. As always, if you can smell what we're cooking, click that like button, and if your tummies are rumbling for more, click subscribe and ring that Brecky bell to turn on all notifications. All right, let's talk.
So there's this really cool movie that came out in the
1999.
90s, and people should know what it is. If you don't know, then I don't know where.
There's a lot of movies.
If you don't know, then you
in the
better ask
90s.
somebody.
I mean,
This
there's a lot of
specific one though. The Matrix came out in 99.
the what tricks?
Yeah, 99. That's what I said.
99. The Matrix. The Matrix.
No, the Matrix.
The Matrix.
What about my mattress? What?
Matrix?
So basically what happens is John Wicks goes into a computer.
Yeah.
That's
He goes into an animus that Assassin's Creed definitely you have from.
Yeah, right. Dude, they definitely did.
But now there's a new one, and maybe it's the last one. I don't know, but it's called Resurrections, and it's pretty fancy looking. People are like, "Where's Morpheus?" A lot of people are saying that the younger teenage kid, is actually Morpheus. Like
Teenage. He's not a teenager.
He's a kid.
He looks younger, but yeah, he's definitely not a teenage.
Definitely not a teenager.
But yeah, people are saying that that's Morpheus. And then there's like people that think that he's actually like in another body because they like destroyed the Matrix.
Yeah, that's so real quick, for anyone who hasn't seen it, it all starts off with him like in therapy, thinking that it sounds like he thought everything was a dream, but then it gets really quick back into like Matrix stuff where they're doing like, superpower shit. So you're like, what the heck's going on? And yeah, that's definitely what I presume is that like at the end of Matrix 3, was it not Reloaded? What was the third one?
Revolutions.
Neo's dead. Like definitely. Like dude. Remember, he gives up his life and he's left there with the robots and he's dead. Now, if he's not dead, right, it's because someone brings him back to life. But he's definitely dead, right? Like just like remember Trinity dies and Neo brings her back. She was dead, right? So even if he's dead, I say
the title of the movie right there kind of.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So I'm saying that. But here's the interesting thing. My thing though is that I think actually what happened was either the architect or the Oracle thinks that Neo is the most unique, because remember he's the seventh one and he's the first one to do something different. Sixth one, yeah, and he's the first one to do something different, and that's why the architect was interested in him, right? And to me, what I think that means is that they did do a reset of the Matrix, right? Because I think that was his deal, right? Oh, he cut out. Damn it. But I think that was supposed to be the deal at the end of There he is. Yeah, I was waiting for it. I was holding my breath hoping he'd come back. So yeah, I was gonna say I think that his deal with the architect was that by going back in, he was going to save Trinity but reset the Matrix. I believe that was part of the deal. And so I believe what they might have done is they reset the Matrix, but they realized this particular being was so unique. Like, think about it. They're all downloaded. Like, you can download martial arts. Why can't you download their consciousness? It's very possible that the architect just saved this copy of the one and had him go back in, right? And now he thinks everything was a dream, but he has all his old memories. So that it's possible there's something like that. But yeah, it's super interesting because yeah, it's basically him and Trinity. I didn't recognize anyone else other than NPH. The second I saw him, I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe he's in here. But Yeah, it was interesting because like even the lady with the white rabbit tattoo is different. Morpheus is different, and I didn't recognize anyone else other than you know Neo and Trinity. So it's definitely interesting. They could. That's why I think that's what happened, right? Because those
So
two recognize each other. But that's my opinion. I want to hear yours.
so I watched.
Yeah, so he watched it.
That's pretty solid.
Can't wait to edit all of
All
it.
I know is just something funny before you go, Hector, is that it's called Resurrection, and the song playing in the background is like one pill makes you larger, one pill makes you smaller.
Yeah.
Resurrection. I thought that was funny.
No.
Anyways, tell me your thing.
Okay, so I watched a trailer breakdown. So essentially, like going through each individual part of what was seen in the trailer, and even things that you kind of don't pick up on. Obviously, if you're stopping the trailer and looking at every single detail, you can kind of pick up on some of these things. So there's a really great explanation, and it makes complete sense. First of all, the trailer in itself is just full of callbacks to the trilogy. So pretty much the entire trailer is like the entirety is linked to all of the other movies. So you get a really good sense that this is not going to be something that is divergent. It's not something that like it's very much attached to everything that has come before in very, very tight ways. It's not something that's like going to be like you're going to go to the movie theater and be like, this is completely different from the Matrix trilogy that I've seen earlier. So one of the theories, but it's a very strong theory, is essentially that the Matrix has been reset. So this is the 7th iteration of the Matrix, but in this version of the Matrix, people are given a choice, just like Neo was given a choice to go to the real world or to stay, essentially to choose ignorance or to choose the truth, right? So that's a very upfront choice, and that's the difference between the previous iterations of the Matrix and this one.
Is that because based on the fact that like the blue pills that are very prominent throughout?
So okay, so that's part. It's part of Neo's journey in this iteration of the Matrix. Now, part of that is maybe this isn't even a Matrix like how it used to be, where there's like essentially like they're sharing in the same Matrix. So essentially, what another theory is that this is its own enclosed Matrix that only houses in reality Neo and Trinity. So they're actually quarantined from the
Oh, that
rest
would be
of the
super
Matrix.
interesting. Yeah.
And essentially, so Neil Patrick Harris, and essentially, you're if he's the therapist, you have to believe he's the one that's prescribing him the blue pills. And if you look at everything inside the office and like his clothing in general, he's wearing blue. He has blue framed glasses. He's wearing like
Yeah.
blue socks, a
There's
blue
blue books
shirt.
with a blue butterfly in the
Yeah,
background.
exactly.
Yeah.
So essentially, he is the control. So Neil Patrick Harris is this. He's pretty much like the architect, right? So he's the new version of the architect. He's the version of the Matrix that essentially keeps control, and that's why he keeps prescribing these blue pills to Neo to keep him essentially inside the Matrix and away from all the other human beings, right? So he doesn't unlock or unleash.
That's
too
interesting
many.
because I wonder if that's almost kind of how I was saying that he was so unique. I thought he might have brought him back, but instead quarantining him. That's pretty interesting.
So okay, so let me get through it, and then here's what makes him unique, right? And you alluded to it previously, is the choice that he made that was different.
Oh, he's cutting out. Well, right before he comes back, the one thing I want to know if this is like a Greek god that means something. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if there's gonna be some like allusion to something, I bet like that would be something.
I don't know why my internet's being like
Don't worry,
especially ridiculous today, but it is.
Well, I actually wanted to ask too if in that breakdown in the office of NPH there is a statue, like a gold statue underneath a lamp in the background, and I'm trying to figure out what god that is because I'm curious if it's like Loki or something like that. You know what I mean? Like not because of any of the other references, but because of this thing that it's like the illusions, something along those lines. There's super interesting.
There's a lot of hidden things in there. It didn't go over that specifically, but it does go over like quite a bit of stuff. But so so what you're alluding to is he was different from the five other iterations of the Neo character, the anomaly, right? And
Yeah.
the difference that he made was the choice essentially to save Trinity as opposed to saving everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why Trinity is essentially super important. And in this movie, they give more of the sense that it wasn't just Neo that was special. It was actually Trinity that was special. So together they are the anomaly. So together they're the difference, right?
So okay, so that would make it super interesting if that's the reason they separated them, was maybe the one from the fifth iteration realized like that was an issue, and when the anomaly came out, the anomaly itself realized it needed to to separate. You know what I mean? It needed to break away from itself.
Or it's just the aspect of human evolution taking hold. Like now there was only one
There can
person
be only one.
who could kind of like, manipulate the matrix, who could see it for what it is. And now, because humans have been so many generations born inside of this thing, now we're evolving, and there's another one that can do the same thing or do something like it's man pairing essentially, right? Like, so like the whole aspect of the matrix was there's this huge tie into religion and Christ and things like that. So now you have another aspect of man, like essentially man in his rib, right? So like man, and now there's a counterpart who essentially makes this one, this actual one being that
one and better is the idea too. Like
and no matter what the computer, no matter what the machines throw at them, they can overcome it. You know what I mean? That kind of dynamic. But also, okay, so in this trailer, there's a breakdown. I didn't see this when I saw like the full speed or the regular speed breakdown, but there's a scene that actually Trinity kind of is doing the same kind of reality breaking moves.
Are you talking about that series of flashing scenes near the beginning where it's like flash, like really
there's
quick?
A lot. Yeah, there's a lot of quick transitions in this trailer, and the only still images or the still moments that you get is when Neo's talking. You know what I mean? So like it's one of these flashing kind of images, but essentially so they meet in a coffee shop, right? So like him and Trinity meet in a coffee shop, and then you see more flash images of the same coffee shop. So the coffee shop scene that I'm talking about is basically so Trinity is like doing these reality breaking moves where she's just destroying the hell out of these troops. And then she like screams. And when she screams, you see like this separation where essentially it's like 6 different Trinities.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that scene.
And that
is around here. Yeah, it is. Oh, you cut out. That's cool. I'm looking for the scene anyways. Oh yeah, look at that. There it is. Yeah. I just found the scene. I was looking for it while you're gone. Yeah, where she kind of like echoes herself out.
Yeah. So basically, again, that's another allusion to like the evolution of the Matrix itself, and that there's been not only 6 Neos, but there's been 6 Trinities. So each time they meet in a different life, and it's like, that whole destiny kind of thing where you're meant to meet this person and they're meant to, you know what I mean? Like that whole concept of well, because the whole movie is about self-determination, right? Like, so you decide your own destiny. Like you're breaking free of the constructs of destiny, of what was meant for you. But then it also ties back into destiny in the sense, right? So like these two people were meant to meet, they were meant to become what they were, and like it's playing out in the real world and not in the Matrix itself. There's also like, again, that there's this kind of concrete foundation that really makes you believe that they are in their own definitive kind of matrix, like a quarantine matrix. There's a scene where you see 2 pods that are right next to each other, and they're separate from all the other kind of human pods that you've seen in the first, Matrix trilogy. And you see Neo waking up from his pod, but he's like way more attached. Like there's, in the first, movie, they have all the wires, but like, there's these little parts where they come off and stuff like that.
Well, I saw the one with Trinity where it shows just her. I'm actually looking for the one you're referencing, because the one with Trinity, she's all hooked up in glowing blue and stuff.
Yeah, so there's that one, but it's like a far scene, and then like you can zoom in and you see like one person sitting up, and then like there's another scene that's in a different part of the trailer that because again they kind of slice this thing up, and you see Neo like sitting up and he's looking like forward.
Yeah,
And
that one's during one of the Flash scenes. I'm trying to
yeah,
remember where that was.
and it's kind of like, again, a lot of these scenes, like they're kind of like they're so similar to the previous movies that you can't tell if they're just doing like flashbacks or this is a new scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's,
that's what I thought that was. Now that you mention it,
yeah,
I thought that was from the first one.
but no, but you see differences. Like he's like far
Yeah,
more connected. Like there's way more connection points. And the scene that you were just talking about, where you see the blue. So if you notice, there's actually a whole nother port, like that's on her neck now. You know how it's
yeah, it
like
looks way different. Yeah,
yeah. And so basically, again, like there's a lot of little differences, subtle differences, but yeah, you get the sense that they're the ones that are like, they're the only ones that are connected to this specific matrix. And there's another like kind of flash scene where you see two people that essentially are like, the whole fresh out of the pod people, and they're being attacked by sentinels. So like they're being kind of like pinned down by the sentinels, but they're like reaching for each other and like almost grabbing each other's hands. So
yeah.
you understand like this is probably Neo and Trinity, and they've somehow escaped. And like the connection in the real world, like them touching each other, is gonna have some kind of effect in the entirety of the Matrix. Maybe breaks them out from their own quarantine.
While he's doing that, I'm trying to find that scene.
So yeah, like I said, internet's being ridiculous today.
No worries. Yeah, every time it does, I'm just going through the scenes trying to find the one you're talking about. Right now, I'm trying to find the. I know the one you're talking about because like I saw it in the flashes. It's much quicker than I thought it was too. I'm trying to like pause
Yeah.
it on it, so now I'm playing it at 0.25 speed.
No, when
But
I saw the
yeah.
trailer breakdown, I was like, I didn't see any of this. Like, what are you watching a different trailer? But no, it's just so quick. The cuts that they make in this trailer are so quick that you just can't.
Oh yeah, I just paused right on one of them. Yeah, one. I think that's. I don't know if that's Neo or not, but yeah, somebody's like really hooked up. That was him. Ah, dang it! I fast forwarded or rewinded it too far.
Yeah, so I mean, not to really spoil the the
Oh, his
theories that are
eyes are
possible.
burnt. That is him. Oh, so
Yeah,
that is him. Yeah, you
yeah,
see his burnt eyes
yep.
and shaved head though.
Yeah, no. So basically he's reinserted into the Matrix, and again, you already he already came back to life one time. Remember when he gets shot in the
Yeah.
actually he comes back twice in the trilogy. So essentially, in the first movie, he gets shot and then he dies and comes back, and then the second time is actually in the real world. No, okay, he doesn't die in the real world. No, my bad.
Well, if anything, this would be the real world death coming back to life.
But yeah, he brings Trinity back to life. Do you
Yeah.
remember that? So he
Yes.
takes
Yeah.
out the bullets.
That's the thing I was talking about. But he did that in the Matrix, and it brought her back in the real world.
And that's not something that's alluded to at all in the trailer or in the breakdown. Was maybe that like when he did that, when he saved Trinity, he inserted a piece of himself, maybe, and that's like kind of what starts this whole.
It's kind of interesting too because he has to go and start her heart. It's like right next to the ribs. It's kind of like that. The thing we were talking about.
Yeah. So super interesting, and theories abound. Like you can still have a ton of theories as to where this is going, but there's like a really concrete foundation based on this trailer. And if you do watch it like a trailer breakdown, the one that I looked at was from Future Rockstars. And it's a really concise kind of breakdown. I'm sure there's little things that they missed and things like that, but I would say go and check that out. Check out all these different trailer breakdowns as you can, just to get some, I guess, context. But I think it's a solid foundation. It makes a lot of sense. It ties into every concept that they have. Another really cool thing is, I don't know if you guys remember Santi from the original Matrix series, where she was essentially a program that didn't have a purpose. She was born from two other programs, and she was essentially like, she controlled the sunrise. That was her program.
Oh yes. I was trying to remember who the hell you're talking about. That was it the second movie?
It was the second movie. Yep, it was Reloaded, because that's when you learn about all the different programs that govern the Matrix and how they're kind of like sentient beings.
Yeah.
So there's a theory that the woman that you see, she closes the book, the Alice in the Wonderland book. He meets her in like a Asian noodle place or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
She has blue frame glasses, and she's of Indian descent. So you assume this is a future version or a grown-up version of Santi, and she is now the new Oracle. So
Mm.
in the last movie too, she's living with the Oracle. Like she is taken from her parents, and then she's like basically it's her and the Oracle. So essentially now she's the new Oracle, and she's the aspect of chaos. So you have Neil Patrick Harris is the control, and then the Oracle is the chaos, and she's
Yeah.
that version of chaos, right? Um,
So
so it's super
that's super
interesting.
interesting. That actually makes me think, like, when you're saying that he might be in a different, he's in his like quarantined matrix. It would be interesting because, like, the fact that him and Trinity look the same shows that even when they're re-injected, like, that they're the same people exactly. And when the world's recreated, you think that it would turn out the same people. They would just try to alter it a little bit. And the fact that they have a Morpheus in there is almost as if they create, like, that's, it makes it like they created him. Like, yeah, let's just put Morpheus in here because, like, we know he'll feel comfortable that way. Like,
That is
yeah,
one of the theories. Yep. And you actually see in the trailer, you see Morpheus's body essentially being constructed. Like this Morpheus, not obviously not the older
yeah,
version of Morpheus, but yes, that is Morpheus, so that's confirmed. He is playing a younger version of Morpheus, but it's not clear as to whether this is a construct of the Matrix itself or this is like humans for somehow figured out how to inject Morpheus's consciousness or whatever the case may be into the Matrix to kind of help Neo break out of it again. So it's very much like you could have this character who's kind of like he seems like a good guy, he seems like a comfortable good guy, but he's actually
dang. One of the theory I have while waiting for him to come back is the fact that it shows like Neo's dead body there for a second. Like, he's hooked up, so he's clearly not dead. But it would be super interesting if, like, Neo is actually dying the whole time, and all he's doing is like sending like a impulse back to like a past, like the new iteration. Like, that would be something interesting. Like, if he put a right before he died, he basically puts a virus in the system so that when the next Neo comes out, he knows everything the last one went through. That would actually be really interesting because it shows him, like, in one of the cutscenes. It shows him laying in the ground, his burnt eyes, and he's hooked up to a bunch of tubes. So he could be alive, but he's up. So it could be that he is actually dying,
well, I
and
think
he just sends that in. I think that'd be interesting.
I think what happened was maybe his body, like, okay, so we have like brain dead, and then like your body is one thing, but then your consciousness is something else. Like, and that's super alluded to in the Matrix, right? So like in the Matrix, your body and your consciousness are connected. So if in your mind, if you think something's real, you die, right? But what could have happened was his consciousness was kind of fully linked to the Matrix. Like, he's kind of got like he's the only human with like a Wi-Fi connection, right? So like he's
Yeah.
walking around, he's not hardwired, he doesn't need, that's why he could stop sentinels in the real world and things like that. So he has a direct like open link. His consciousness does not need to be hooked up to the Matrix in order to make changes in the machine world, right? So basically his body maybe has perished, but they found a way to bring it back, so like his hardware, they found a way to resurrect the hardware. His software never died. His software was just essentially integrated into the
That'd
Matrix.
also be interesting if maybe they're trying to bring back his physical Actually, it could even be Trinity just trying to bring him back to life, and they're replaying a world so his brain doesn't die while they try to resurrect his body. Because, like you said, the consciousness could be floating in the Matrix. It could be that literally it's still in the Matrix, but they have to run this program where it'll slowly disintegrate, and they're trying to revive the body
Well,
back. That would be interesting.
think about this too. So Trinity dies in the real world, right? So again, we're talking about the
You die
title
after
is
she's revived?
Resurrection. Yeah, no. She died. Well, yeah. Remember at the end in number 3, she dies. Like, she legit dies. They crash into like a place. Like, they crash into the machine city, and she gets like pulls through her chest, and she dies.
Oh shit, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's after he's blinded and everything. So the whole title of this is Resurrections. So maybe the machines have found a way to resurrect bodies, or to, essentially bring a consciousness back to life, or they have cloned her essentially. So now this is the 6th iteration or the 7th iteration of Trinity, but it's not the same, but it's still the 6th iteration of Neo. So I don't know. I don't know exactly how that happened. Maybe it's going to be one of those throwaway explanations where it's like, oh yeah, she wasn't quite dead yet, and we were able to recover her body and then bring her
Yeah,
back
I
to
hope
life.
not, because like I'm looking. I forgot. I remember the scene. It was right before he gets hooked up to the Matrix the last time. That was the whole point. Yeah.
So
I totally forgot about that.
That was meant to close the loop. Like that was the whole point of them two dying right there was to close the loop of the Neos of the one. But obviously they've resurrected that concept, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's super interesting. Like I said, there's a lot of places it could be going, but I think one super interesting thing that has been completely neglected, has been completely left out, is there is no definitive Agent Smith. So
you mean like one person that is the clear, but even in the original trailer though, they didn't show that. You know what I mean? Like there was multiple agents in the first one.
No, they show agents. There's a human that turns into an agent right away, and it's actually the same guy, the same actor from the original Matrix. He's back in it. He's that agent. He's still that agent. He looks a little, obviously thicker. When you get a little older, you get kind of that thickness to your body. So he looks a little bit different, but still the same actor. But what I'm saying is there is no Agent Smith. There is no allusion to an Agent Smith. And he was legitimately like Neo's like anti-self, right? So there's no more anti-self in this, I guess, iteration of the Matrix, or they're saving that as a reveal that maybe Morpheus is that anti-self, that maybe he's that Agent Smith.
Oh, but that would be interesting to make the person who was his mentor become the person who's now like the thing that's supposed to keep him in check. Yeah, I was just gonna say it's interesting. It would be interesting to keep it to make the mentor the person who is now the one who has to keep him in check and fight against him in this reality. That would be very interesting.
Yeah, I think they're going for a really wide mindfuck in this movie.
Yeah,
because there's so much subject matter, they can like confuse the hell out of the audience and be like, and turn them in any direction. But like I said, there's a really, like, just with this trailer alone, so many things that connect to the original movie or the original trilogy, I should say. And it goes all the way back to the original movie. Like the tattoo of the white rabbit, so the deja vu cat is in the therapist's office. So you just have like so many of these like really strong references to the original trilogy. So it's going to be very much like, again, like it's very linear. This isn't like a offshoot. It's going to be a linear continuation of the story. Now, where they take that and how that works, again, with the resurrection of these two characters that are supposed to be dead, or that they allude to be dead in the in the last movie,
in the third of the trilogy.
And then also too, like, you actually in this trailer you see there's a human hovercraft that's like going kind of close to the surface, and you can see beams of light coming through the ruins. And if you remember in the original Matrix, the humans burnt out the sky, so there shouldn't be any light coming through. So what you get an allusion to is that maybe the robots have started like basically re-terraforming the earth so that the humans can come back to the surface. So maybe that truce that was created is still in existence. And like, how does that work? Like, how does the real world reflect it?
Dang, he's cutting out a lot more frequently too.
Yeah,
that's super. I wonder if that alone is the thing that like increased their time to like pause between stuff.
That is not the reason why our time is an hour now.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done because my internet is just killing me right now, and I'm about to
making this into 2 episodes. So,
honestly, we could do the PS5 breakdowns and then this breakdown. I'm cool with that.
Something. We have a Buy Me a Coffee, so make sure to click the link in the description.
Don't just click the link in the description. Click the link in the description, and then buy me a coffee.
Yeah, do that.
Buy Buttercat a coffee. Look at him. He's thirsty.